University of Georgia. He transferred out of there because obviously he knew Fromm was going to be the guy. He was going to be the starter for the next few years. So he wanted to go to a team where he could actually utilize his talent, and he took a trip up north and joined with the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they played Florida Atlantic. And again, like I was talking about, you schedule these games to get the season started, and that's exactly what they did. They beat Florida Atlantic 45-21, but Justin Fields went 18 for 25, 234 yards passing, 61 yards rushing. He has a total of 5 TDs, in this game. So Ohio State seems like they got another big-time player, big-time quarterback, and he took one to the house. I think that all 61 yards, or almost all 61 yards, came on a rush for a touchdown. So they got a dual threat. He's putting up the ball in the air. He's putting the ball on the ground with his feet. So hey, I'll give him credit where credit is due right now. He came out, he made the move. He knew that he could be a guy that could make an impact for a team. I think he went to the right team. But there's still more to be played. But Justin Fields, got to give him credit for what he did this past Saturday. The other former college football player, or the other transfer college football player, I should say, would be Jalen Hurts, formerly of University of Alabama, and now he went to Oklahoma. And boy, oh boy, did he have a game against Houston. They won 49-31. Jalen Hurts went crazy. He went 20 for 23, which is absurd. 332 yards passing, 176 yards rushing, and he accounted for 6 touchdowns. So he was Mr. Everything for them. Obviously, this is going to start up the hype train because you had Baker Mayfield to come in, from another school, and he did well. You had Kyler Murray. He came in to play 1 year. He did really well. And now you got Jalen Hurts with this first game. And everyone's going to be probably talking about, is this going to happen again? Jalen Hurts, is he up for the Heisman? I'm sure, this will obviously put his name in there early. But what scared me about this game, it was 49-31. And of course they won by, double digit and more than 2 touchdowns. But it took this performance for them to win 49-31. Normally, the defense for Oklahoma is a little bit, a question mark at this point. Just one game. I'm not going to say, this is what the team is for the entire season. And I'm not taking anything away from Houston, but You give up 31 points and your quarterback had to put up 6 touchdowns themselves for y'all to win. But normally that is a game where you can pin your ears back. You make a team maybe one-dimensional and you win the game 49-10 or something. 49-14, but not 49-31 where your defense is giving up 31 points. But back to Jalen Hurts. He commanded the field. He looked very comfortable. He's a kid that is confident. So even at Alabama, he was confident and he was comfortable with what he was doing. And now he's getting another opportunity to be a starter. And I'm sure he wants to go to the NFL to be the uncut, clear starter as well in Oklahoma. So he doesn't have Tua on his back. And I think in Oklahoma he's going to do well. He has his mind straight, and he has his head tightened on right to know what it is that he needs to do to get the job done for the next 10, 12 weeks for the season. So these transfers putting up big numbers early, and they catching everybody's eye, and so you're going to be watching them. And I hope that this continues because it's good for, college football when you have, a guy in Oklahoma and you got Ohio State, even though, Ohio State pillar, but, it's always good for college football when you have, the big schools really, really doing well. So they started off early. at this point. So you listen to the Wait a Minute Show with your man Jelani JB Bodie, and I'm going to go back to the Wait a Minute Show chat room and read some of your comments. Susan Sparrow, who is in here, she is speaking about CFL-A, and that is Canadian football, and she's brought up the Saskatchewan football team. So, ladies and gentlemen, there has been some really good football on the way that we're excited about, but Canadian football is around too. It's very entertaining. You have, Saskatchewan, Toronto, I think it's still in existence. If I remember correctly, please don't get mad if I got that wrong. But normally, who is it's not RC. Why am I drawing a blank right now? We have another listener that speaks about Canadian football as well. But do not forget about Canadian football is basically what I'm getting at. So it is getting closer, because they're already into the season, well into the season, and they're going to be getting to the playoffs pretty soon. And then you'll have people battling for the Grey Cup. But if you are a football person, you got college football started, and the NFL is going to start, but then you also can get your fix with CFL as well. And I appreciate it, Mochi. It's Ron. And I wanted to say RC because it starts with an R, but I knew it was an RC because RC is about Minnesota. But Ron, yes, my man Ron, is always talking about Canadian football. So I just wanted to give a real shouts out to all sports, but we're talking about football, so Canadian football as well. You if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. The rules are a little bit different. The field is wider. The field goal post is at the front of the end zone line instead of the back of the end zone line. So and you can move in motion. So they do a lot of motion in Canadian football. So Susan Sparrow, thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for tuning in to the Wait a Minute Show. We always appreciate you. So moving on from that, and we were talking college football, but we're going to get back into professional football as well. But before we do that, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll get back into Hard Knocks, Packers versus Bears, and then I want to talk about a team that is messing up my fantasy football team right now. Who is that? I'll tell you about that and more after we come back from the break. You listen to the Wait a Minute Show. We'll be back after these words.
We all hate when we have unexpected car problems. Well, I'm here to tell you about a viable solution. Bay 11 Auto and my man Melvin. You have emission problems? Brakes need changing? Transmission slipping? Is your car just driving sluggish? No problem is too big. I live on the other side of town, and I drive over an hour to a guy that I trust. Melvin is honest, dependable, and definitely not in the business to break your pockets. Come see the official mechanic, Melvin, at Bay 11 Auto. You will be glad you did. You can reach him at 1455 General Arts Road, Conyers, Georgia, or 404-295-5715. That's 404-295-5715.
We don't take orders from super fools. We give them.
X gon' give it to you.
Any and all resistance will crumble. Nonsense. There's never been a threat
Squad
couldn't handle. It is the purpose of the
Squad
to align our infamous forces against the powers of good and defeat them, leaving us, the rulers of the world.
All music artists, lend me your ear. Looking for that hot beat to make your next hit? Go to FaroJaroMusic.com. Tired of paying for overpriced studio time for mediocre beats? Go to FaroJaroMusic.com. FaroJaroMusic.com offers industry-quality hip-hop, trap, R&B, and pop beats that will take your creativity to the next level. We know it's hard to find dope beats out there, so don't waste any more time searching YouTube or whack beat-selling websites. Go to FaroJaroMusic.com today to cop the beat for your next hit. Mixing and mastering services available too. Once again, go to FaroJaroMusic.com. That's FaroJaRo Music.com for the hottest beats in the game.
Yo, what's good? This is Trey Frazier on the staff. This is the Barbershop Sports Talk Podcast. Make sure y'all tune into us every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time.
Squad Network, the future of radio.
He's the brain of operations.
I'm telling you right now, book it.
And him, he's along for the ride. But together, they bring you sports like you've never heard before. The Wait a Minute Show, a new way of discussing today's trending sports topics. And now, back to the show with your host, Jolani J.B. Bodie.
Indeed, Lopan. Indeed. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from the break and we are finishing this thing up. We're talking sports. And before we went to the break, we brought up the CFL. So before I go into my next topic real quick, I want to bring up again, Susan Sparrow is talking about Saskatchewan. You know, they are sitting at 7-3 in the West in the CFL, and actually the Winnipeg has been doing pretty good. They were 7-2, so they ran into a little bit of a snag, but they're at 8-3 right now. And this was, and I was talking about Winnipeg earlier in one of my shows about how when Oakland and the Packers showed up and they weren't selling any tickets, and I said, well, hey, Winnipeg is 7-2. Why would someone be showing up for an NFL game when your own team is 7-2 and they run in the division? So, and they are still running division right now. Like I said, they're ahead of Saskatchewan. And there's some games coming up. Actually, Friday, BC is going to be playing Montreal. And just like Susan Sparrow, for the people that are in the Wait a Minute Show chat room, there's some games on Saturday as well. So you got Toronto versus Ottawa. Saskatchewan is going to play Winnipeg. So that is going to be a big game, 1 versus 2 in that matchup. So it is definitely something that you want to check out. Game start at 1 o'clock. So, hey, if you, no pun intended, but if you are maybe missing, or waiting on a college football game and you want to catch some other football in your life, check out the CFL. So once again, endorsement for the CFL. So now let's get back to why I am a little upset. Well, not a little upset. So fantasy football, ladies and gentlemen, is definitely a big thing in the NFL, and I mean, just at work, family members, friends, girlfriends, husbands, wives, boyfriends. I mean, it's all over the place. So people are always playing fantasy football. And I'd said before the break that I'm a little upset because I got a dynasty league that I am in. And this dynasty league, you basically, you draft rookies and all this stuff. And I've been in it for 10 years. So, you have players on your team for an extended period of time, just like you would in real life. I'm a little upset with the LA Chargers. Melvin Gordon, we know he is holding out right now. He wants to get paid and all this stuff. We already know that. Boo, 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 boo. So we don't need to go into all that stuff. Now, the Chargers did grant Gordon's agent to take some fillers on getting a trade. And one of the trades that was out there that they turned down, was the Philadelphia Eagles came a-calling for Melvin Gordon. Now, of course, fantasy football, Jelani, right now is heartbroken because that would be a game changer for my team if he went to the Philadelphia Eagles. So I'm going to digress and get off of my soapbox about it being about me. But this is more about why would the Chargers turn down the Eagles? Now, here's what the offer was. Supposedly, the report is that the Eagles offered Jordan Howard and a mid-round pick for Melvin Gordon. Now, the word is that the Chargers are saying, if you want the services of Melvin Gordon, you're going to have to give us a first and a fifth. A first and a fifth. Here's where I'm confused about this whole situation of you asking for a first and a fifth. Now, maybe this is just a starting point and then they work something out, which I'm hoping that could be the case and they meet in the middle somewhere because remember, there's been plenty of other teams. Arizona, they lost their mind.